Thank you very much, Senator Manchin. Senator Cotton, please.
General Kurilla, General Langley, welcome. Thank you for your service and the men and women who serve in your commands. General Kurilla, last year at this same hearing, you said that Iran was undeterred. You've touched on this a couple times today. What's your current assessment? Iran deterred, not deterred?
I would tell you Iran is undeterred in support to the Houthis. They are undeterred in their support to Hezbollah, their support to Hamas, the support into the West Bank. They are deterred right now in Iraq and Syria in their support to the Iranian-aligned militia groups, but not in terms of attacks, but not necessarily in terms of their funding and equipping.
Okay. I think in response to Senator Wicker, you said there hasn't been an attack in Iraq and Syria in 32 days?
About 32 days.
And that's what you judge they're deterred?
I also base it based on the intelligence that I read.
Okay. But you also use the term temporary. That
deterrence is always temporary.
Okay. But they are still training and equipping those militias and other proxies in Iraq and Syria.
100%.
If you raise and train a pit bull and then you let it off the chain in the neighborhood, do you think you're responsible for the actions of the pit bull?
Senator, I do.
Okay, thank you. Talking about those attacks, Senator Wicker asked you how many occurred since October 7th. What was that number?
Number of attacks in Iraq and Syria, or where?
I think he asked Iraq and Syria.
Iraq and Syria is approximately 175.
Okay.
173.
And how many times since October 7th have we struck Iran proxy positions in Iraq and Syria?
I believe it is 8.
That doesn't seem like a very good balance, 173 to 8. What's up with that?
I think when we strike, we aim what we are hitting at. The last strike that we did, we hit 85 targets, and we killed them. We waited, and then we killed their top commander for Syria from Kataib Hezbollah.
Unfortunately, though, it wasn't just attacks on October 7th and since. Do you know the number of attacks from January 20th, 2021 to last October 7th?
I don't have the number, but it's up there, Senator.
Would it surprise you that Secretary Austin testified to this committee last year that it was 83 attacks?
That would not surprise me.
And how many retaliatory strikes had we launched in those 2 years and 9 months?
Don't have the exact number at the tip of my fingers.
He testified that it was 4. Would that surprise you?
That would not surprise me.
Again, not a very good balance, if you ask me. Okay, so you said they're not deterred with the Houthis, which I think we can see obviously since the Houthis keep sinking ships and killing people every day and a global choke point that accounts for 1/6 of the world economy. Have you offered strike options against the Houthis that go beyond the current strikes that have occurred?
I provide options, a wide variety of options, everything from cyber to kinetic, and with the risk of escalation based on those.
Can you tell me a little bit about the campaign to compel?
The campaign to compel is one we wrote back in October, and that is to compel Iran to cease their support and attacks of their proxies, and it is to hold Iran accountable for those.
Are you currently implementing that campaign?
We are implementing portions of that campaign, but it requires a whole of government. There is no just big M military in our instruments of national power between diplomatic, information, military, and economic.
Okay. You testified, or you stated that one of your priorities is limiting Iranian resupply of the Houthis. What about striking their indigenous manufacturing capabilities that Iran has built up substantially over the years?
Where, internal to Iran?
No, in Yemen. Yemen is making a lot of its own drones and...
Absolutely, Senator. And I can talk to you in a closed session some of the challenges with that.
Those are fixed sites, aren't they?
They are, if you know where they are.
Okay. Do you think it was a good idea to remove the Houthis from the foreign terrorist organization list in February 2021?
That was a policy decision, Senator.
Do you think that emboldened the Houthis or encouraged them to think they could get away with this kind of action?
I'm not certain how much that changed their current action.
Okay. They were recently designated a specially designated global terrorist organization, which is a pale simulacrum of being designated a foreign terrorist organization. That doesn't seem to have changed their calculus, does it?
It does not.
Thank you. One final follow-up on a statement you made earlier. you said, this is close to a direct quote, that we could see attacks against U.S. or Western interests abroad with little to no warning in as little as 6 months. Are you speaking there about ISIS and Al-Qaeda from Afghanistan?
ISIS Khorasan specifically, and
Okay.
also out of Syria, which they are trying to vector into predominantly European countries.
So ISIS out of either Afghanistan or Syria, attacks against U.S. interests and Western interests abroad in as little as 6 months. Now, abroad can mean a lot of things. Abroad can mean, our embassy in Tajikistan. It could also mean Western Europe or North America. Can you be more
Europe and
specific?
Eurasia.
Okay. What is the timeline you foresee in which those terrorist organizations could launch an attack with little to no warning against the American
We
homeland?
think is it a lot more difficult for them to be able to do that and requires substantially more resources.
Okay. So 6 months anywhere across Eurasia and indeterminate time in North America.
Yes.
Thank you.